Hello everyone, so I'm here today to do another Read Around the World challenge video, and this time is going to be for Northeastern Europe, so that includes Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, Czech Republic, Slovakia and Hungary. So first of all, for Estonia I read The Man Who Spoke Snakish by Andrus Kivirähk, something like that, and this was a fantasy book set around Middle Ages, I will say, and it was about this imbalance. So the protagonist lives in the forest, and there's a certain amount of people that live in the forest, and they are quite in tune with nature. They eat from nature. They don't grow their own crops or anything, and there is this ancient art of speaking to snakes, and snakes are considered the kings of the forest. So if you are able to speak the language of snakes, first of all you can speak to snakes, so that gives you like a status or something, but also you can call other animals and talk to other animals. Not all other animals speak back to you, but they are able to understand and obey you, because the snakes are the kings of the forest, so they all obey the snake. So if you speak the same language, they also obey you. And our protagonist does speak Snakish, is one of the last humans to do that, but we also have a lot of people moving into the village, and the villagers are obsessed with God and with everything holy and stuff, and so he doesn't want to accept that. He thinks it's very stupid what the villagers are doing, but the villagers think that he's evil because he can speak to snakes, he doesn't believe in God, that kind of thing. I found this refreshing. Like I haven't read many fantasy books for this challenge, and this was a good one. And this one, I think for me it was something new. It is based on a folklore I'm not as used to, but at the same time it was still a recognizable kind of folklore, let's say. Some things that I was not familiar with, but I could understand right away. And I liked also the way in which the forest and the village were portrayed, and the dichotomy of where to belong and stuff. I have to say, at the beginning we follow this man for pretty much his whole life, but at the beginning, like the first half is very focused on him growing up and his life in the forest, and then in the second half is more about him figuring himself out while still living in the forest, but everyone else is leaving the forest, and it's more plotty, and I like the first half more, just because I like the building of this culture more than I enjoy the plot twist and stuff. But overall, I think it's a good book to read. It's a different thing to read if you're doing this kind of challenge, so I enjoyed it. The second book that I read for this challenge was for Latvia, and I read Soviet Milk by Ikstena Nova, and this one was one of those books that don't have chapters, but it didn't bother me as much as normally does, because it did have like this, big paragraph breaks, section breaks with a star kind of thing, so there were points where you could stop, and it's about the mother and daughter, and it's divided in these sections, and each section is from one of them, so they will alternate. At the beginning it was the mother, and then the daughter, and then the mother, and this changes every few pages, and at the beginning I didn't know that. It took me a few pages to realize, but I think that is quite powerful, because in some senses their lives repeat each other, so the fact that you're not sure if it's the mother or the daughter, it kind of gives that sense of history repeating itself. And basically what happens is they are under the communist regime, and they are very oppressed, and that has a really big impact on especially the mother's mental health, but also the daughter, when she grows up and realizes what's going on as well. And it's this kind of the love between them, but also the hardships between them, because the mother has a lot of feelings, good and bad, towards the fact that her daughter exists, even though she loves her daughter. And then we have the grandparents as well in the picture, and what is their role on things. And yeah, overall I thought it was very well done. I was very invested in the story, I was very immersed, and yeah, I thought it was great. The writing was also good, so yeah, I enjoyed this one as well. For Lithuania, I read Shades of Grey by Rita Sepetys, and I read this a while ago. I am not even sure Rita Sepetys is from Lithuania. I don't think so, but I might be wrong. But this one was more of a young adult book, in which again, it's about the Soviet times and how they sent people that were not agreeing with the politics to Siberia, and basically they treat them horrible. They were concentration camps basically, and how that was like. We follow this family, especially the two kids, going to one of these concentration camps in Siberia, and how their life is and how hard it is. I thought it was interesting because I hadn't read anything similar to that before, but the writing was simple, and the story was quite simple, as you would expect on a young adult kind of book, middle grade young adult, I'm not sure. So yeah, in that sense it was not the best book I've read, but it was good enough. Then from Poland I've read a few books, most of them by Olga Tokarczuk. I've read Drive Your Plow or the Bones of the Dead, the books of Jacob, and Flights, and I have individual reviews for two of them, so I'll link them down below. I really like Olga Tokarczuk. I think her books are really different from each other, but they all kind of have a very reflective nature that I really enjoy, and her way of writing is really beautiful. So yeah, I really like Olga Tokarczuk. And then apart from that, I also have read some other books, including Solaris by Stanislav Lev, and I also enjoyed this one. I read it a while ago, but this one is a science fiction in which they arrive to a planet in which it seems that it's all just water and ocean, so the humans establish a base there, and then slowly they started realizing that the ocean is actually a being, and I found it very I found that the way that developed was very insightful and very cool, so I also like that one. Then for Czech Republic, I've read also a few books. I have read The Metamorphosis by Kafka, which honestly didn't have such a big impact in me, I think because I already kind of knew the story as part of our general culture, so yeah, there was nothing that much to add to what I already knew. Then I also read Gerta by Katrina Tuckova, and this one was about a woman that was from German origins that moves to the Czech Republic after Hitler comes to power, and how she's ostracized because she has German origins, even though she completely disagrees with Hitler's policies, and that's why she left. And this one was okay for me. And then I also have read The Unbearable Lightness of Being by Milan Kundera, which I really enjoyed the first time I read it. I thought it was very beautiful, and I don't know, there was something very literary about it. But I have tried to reread it, I think a couple of years ago, and I just couldn't stand the misogynistic tone of it, so yeah, I don't know what to say about that. And then for Slovakia, I read Madres y Camioneros, which translates to Mothers and Truck Drivers, by Ivana Dobrakovová. probably butchered that. And this is kind of a collection of short stories, but the short stories are very long. It's like 50-60 pages per story, so you do have quite a development, and they are all dealing with misogynistic and sexist things that happen to different women. And I found it quite basic in some ways. So some of the things that these stories look at are quite basic. Like there is a story about a girl, like a 17-18-year-old girl, that talks to men online that want to see her nudes and stuff, and they all like promise her all kinds of things, and she knows it's not true, but she kind of finds this attention addictive. There is another one about a woman that was married and then got divorced because the man just didn't value her. And then there's another one about a woman that is married with kids, and she's a stay-at-home mom, and how her husband does not appreciate her. So that kind of stories, which for me it was just a little bit too basic and a little bit too obvious what the message was, without adding anything extremely extra to it. So they were okay, but it was not like shocking to me in any way. And then the last country is Hungary, and I read The Door by Magda Szabo, and this one was great. I had heard all the hype about it, and I was a bit apprehensive going into it because of the hype, but it's worth it. The hype is worth it. So this one is about, there is a couple that need a housekeeper, and they talk to this woman, and she accepts their offer, but she is a very mysterious person. She's like really giving and really caring, but she doesn't expose absolutely anything about her life or her past or anything. So there is this mystery built around her and about who she is and who she actually cares about. And there is this tension about it building up. It's kind of like a thriller, but it's not a thriller because there is no murder, there is no mystery. There is just like this woman, this very mysterious woman, and who she actually is. That's the mystery. And yeah, it was done in such a masterful way, I think. I just wanted to keep reading and knowing what was going on, and at the end when you find out, it's it's interesting because it's not as life-changing as you think it would be, but at the same time it's just, that's the point. I think that's the point of the book, and yeah, I just found it really really good. I think really good storytelling. So yeah, those are all the books that I read for this region of the world, and honestly I think that I'm really liking Eastern European literature so far, so maybe I should explore any other books that you might recommend from that region, because so far I think I've enjoyed a lot of the ones I've read. Let me know if you have read any of these books, if you want to read any of these books, or if you have any recommendations, and until next video, bye!